Hello everybody, I'm Kirsti Uunila, recently retired from the Calvert County Department of Planning and Zoning, where I was for 27 years the Historic Preservation Planner and the County Archaeologist. I thank you for your patience this afternoon. We had a few glitches over here. It's been a delight for me to see these guys struggle with it because that's usually what I do all alone. But we're up and running now. What you're about to see is a brief video about our most recent work on an archaeological site at Calverton. Calverton was the first county seat of Calvert County, occupied between 1668 and 1724. We've done archaeology there over the years. This particular project was funded by the Maryland Heritage Areas Authority. And why don't we just go to it right now, and I'll say a few words when we're done seeing it.
Calverton was the county seat of Calvert County, and it was only occupied for a very short period of time before that county seat was shifted to Prince Frederick in 1724.
This is our first county government, was located here. The courthouse, the Maryland legislature even met here a few times. This was the second town site founded in the state of Maryland, or I should say in the colony of Maryland. So it has an important place in regional history as well.
There was an incredible intersection of cultures right here on this site. You had Native Americans, you had European immigrants, you also had slaveholders toward the end of occupation, so there were African American enslaved people here as well. So there's a tiny microcosm in this site that shows an incredible cross-section of culture, and understanding how those people and how those occupations relate to each other really truly tells a deeper story of who we are, you know, as Maryland residents and the descendants of that cultural intersection. And it's, like I said, it's just an amazing opportunity to learn more about every single one of those cultures and how they related to each other, so we can tell their story more deeply.
The reason for doing it right now is it really is endangered. Just since I've been monitoring this site, now it's been over 20 years, I've seen it lose almost 20 feet of shoreline.
As you can see behind you, the shoreline is very, very, very close to a lot of these resources. Some of these major features, you're only several meters away from the shoreline. And as the shoreline erodes, we begin the possibility to lose those features and to lose that archaeological and cultural data to the encroaching, shoreline loss. So the county found funding to bring in a private company to come in here and get as much data as we possibly can prior to losing those very important resources. The Maryland Historic Trust was able to come out and conduct ground-penetrating radar prior to our actual on-the-ground physical excavations. We were able, using their data, to kind of co-opt and very, very well target our excavations. A lot of times in archaeology, without that kind of remote sensing technology available, our data is based on a little bit of guesswork. The more we're able to retrieve, the more we're able to retain out here, the more this data can be retrieved and our shared cultural heritage can be retained before it's lost into the bay.
All of the artifacts that are found here will be curated permanently. It means they'll be appropriately curated according to state standard at the Maryland Archaeological Conservation Lab, which is at Jefferson Patterson Park and Museum. They're all housed together under the site. They are available for use in exhibits and for interpretation, for scholarly research.
What's most important to take away here is that we very rarely get an opportunity to look at a site that has been occupied from a colonial setting in a short period of time. It gives us a very narrow window of occupation. And when you have smaller ranges of artifacts and smaller ranges of occupations, you can infer more and understand more about the people that live there. I think the thing I want more people, would like more people to understand the fact is that the history is right beneath your feet. If you just glanced over this site or walked along the shoreline, you might never know that there was a thriving 17th century colonial town at this location. So the only way to understand that is through more research, more excavation, and more understanding.
Calvert County supports and encourages the preservation of our heritage and our history to be able to communicate to future generations, and also for all of us to understand how we got where we are, why we look the way we do, and how we looked in the past. It's not just a backward-looking thing, though, because we can use that information to move forward and to become the kinds of communities that we want to do. Archaeology has a role to play there. If you didn't get a chance to see that, or if it was freezing on your screen, you will be able to find a link to that video on the Calvert County website. What's important about this site, as Patrick mentioned in the video, is that it really represents, in a microcosm, a major shift in world and, of course, in American history. On that landscape, just as everywhere in Calvert County, there were cultures meeting, clashing, cooperating, learning about each other, learning from each other, sometimes in conflict and sometimes in oppression. On that landscape down there on Battle Creek, there were English settlers who were occupying the same places, the same spaces as Native Americans and also enslaved Africans. That was kind of the beginning of the American experiment, if you will. And it happened right here, just as it did other places on the eastern seaboard. I encourage you to learn more about Calvert County archaeology and history. There are many resources to do that. My successor is going to be on board within a few weeks, and I hope you will call on that person who will be eager to assist you in learning more, just as our other historic preservation planner, Kathleen C., will as well. I hope you've enjoyed this brief presentation, and I encourage you to take care of yourselves, be kind to one another, and don't forget where you came from.